British Columbia's inland international frontier. From the desert landscape of Osoyoos to the waters of Kootenay Lake and the mountains surrounding. Acres of vineyards lining the border in Canada's hottest town.
It's one of the first wineries that are native run and operated.
One of British Columbia's most valuable crops in economic peril.
We want to keep those jobs and keep that money flowing in rural British Columbia.
And an angler's paradise.
If you're coming out to BC for a fishing holiday, you won't be disappointed.
Now, we trace the secrets of the world's longest undefended border. More than 6,000 kilometers of rugged American frontier. Canada, over the edge. On approach to the border town of Osoyoos, British Columbia, incredible desert landscape stretches for kilometers. Osoyoos is in the heart of the South Okanagan Valley, one of the warmest and driest regions in all of Canada. The town is home to just under 5,000 people, located opposite Orrville, Washington. The word Osoyoos comes from the local First Nations language, meaning narrowing of the waters. Those waters are Osoyoos Lake, measuring 23 square kilometers, the warmest freshwater lake in Canada. And the area surrounding Osoyoos features an amazing array of landscapes. High in the hills, Spotted Lake is a bizarre sight. The lake holds one of the largest concentrations of magnesium sulfate, calcium, and sodium sulfates in the world. And with Osoyoos' desert-like climate, water evaporates in the summer, leaving a white, hardened crust. According to local First Nations legend, these waters hold incredible healing powers. Far below Spotted Lake, the desert landscape of Osoyoos is interspersed with thousands of acres of orchards and vineyards. They are a common sight in the Okanagan region, from the city of Kelowna to the US border and beyond. Today, Osoyoos is one of Canada's emerging hubs for wine production and the site of Canada's only Aboriginal winery.
My name is Justin Hall. I'm the assistant winemaker for Inkameep Cellars. It's one of the first wineries that are native run and operated. Osoyoos is located roughly 5 minutes away from the Washington border, just above Oroville. We always joke and say it's a stone's throw away. It's roughly 4 hours away from the coast, Vancouver area. Right down south, right on the border, really hot temperatures. You're roughly 30 degrees in the summertime. Very, very nice place.
The winery is adjacent to a 200-room hotel and golf course, all part of the Inkameep Destination Resort. Their production facility here produces, bottles, and distributes wine.
Gives us a bit of an edge being here in Osoyoos. We're typically one of the hottest places in Canada. Almost the record somewhere around 42 degrees, and we've hit that number several times. As you travel more north up the valley, you lose a couple degrees per town. To begin the wine process, it all starts here in the vineyard. The best wines are made directly out in your own vineyard, and that's where the whole start of the process begins. Growing the grapes, you know, we've had the third hottest summer in 15 years, which will give us a good quality wine in the end product.
You going to mug me? I'm not going to mug you.
Is that gorgeous or what, eh?
And I believe I can run a decent marathon.
Thank you very much.
Download Veely now.
Now, the second step to the process, after you've grown these fantastic grapes, you'll pick them and bring them into the winery and start the process of fermentation. Fermentation basically converts your sugars that you have in the grapes into alcohol. The wines are aged for 18 months in French and American oak barrels. We start our blending process at that point, and we'll come up with a blend that we think fits the wine palate and the consumer palate. Part of the third process in this whole step is that now your wines are made, what you want to do is make sure that your consumers are enjoying the wines. We enter competitions, we enter them throughout the world. You got many, many different places that you have to compare your wines to other wines and ensure that your quality is superior.
The Osoyoos Indian Band has grown grapes here for generations. Now, the fruits of their ancestral land are being celebrated abroad.
The Osoyoos Indian Band has owned grapes since 1968. We started a vineyard. Now, I've been with the company for 9 years, and I feel a lot of pride in our wines and what we do here. Now, we're the first Aboriginal winery in Canada and possibly North America, and we work really hard at what we do. We feature our grapes, our land, and our wines, and our culture here all at Inkameep Cellars.
East of Osoyoos, British Columbia, and from a distance, Molson, Washington could be any other rural settlement along the British Columbia-Washington frontier. but a closer look reveals abandoned turn-of-the-century structures. It is a near ghost town, located just 2 kilometers south of the Canadian border. Molson was a mining hub, named in honor of the town's original investor, John Molson of the Canadian Brewing Empire. Today, the ghost town features a museum celebrating the region's gold mining glory days. Continuing east, we followed the 6-meter-wide cut line dividing Canada and the U.S. Far below, the vineyards of the South Okanagan are replaced by the forested hills of BC's boundary country. On the American side of the border, Colville National Forest represents 1.1 million acres of protected tranquility. On the Canadian side, the landscape is strikingly similar. It is a rugged, remote stretch of frontier, tracing the path of the 49th parallel. Beyond the summit of one final peak, Midway, BC comes into view. Midway is set in the heart of the Kettle Valley, with roots dating back to fur trading and mining in the 19th century. It was known as Boundary City until 1894. Today, Midway is home to just over 500 people, including Rose Bolts, owner of Midway's truly international ranch.
Hello, my name is Rose Bolts, and I live here in Midway, BC, on a cattle ranch right at the edge of town. Our cattle ranch is called Bolts Hereford Ranch. And we have about 120 cows. What is really unique about this ranch is that we own 40 acres in Canada, and there's almost 40 acres in the US.
Half of the Bolts Hereford Ranch is in Canada, half in the United States, with no guarded crossing. It is granted a rare exception with the American portion of the ranch surrounded by water.
we think this is really quite a unique place because you see the line for the border is up there. This is Canada, that's the United States. And we can raise our crops here. And it's possible to do this all because of the river and the creek coming together to form a little isolated area that could not be accessed from the U.S. Well, over the years, they have tried to keep this line visible so that it's easier to explain that this is Canada on this side and U.S. on that side, even though our lands are just identical.
The cut line runs just meters from Rose Bolt's kitchen and directly through her cattle yard.
We're here just now on a few feet in from the U.S. border, and you can see our cattle grazing here on the land. We have irrigation running through there. We're able to keep them here for the summer and let them pasture here. They're just a few of our cattle. These are just some of the later calves. We went through health inspections and we went through all the two different vets, the vet for the U.S. and the vet for the Canadian, so that we were able to bring them back and forth from from the U.S. into Canada, just uniquely. And the border guards know our situation. We don't personally know them, the new ones anymore. We used to know them, but there is some range that come through here now and ride through our herd and look things over.
After more than 6 decades in Midway, Rose Bolts understands life on the edge like no one else.
I came here in 1949 in October when I married my husband, Dan Bolts, who had lived on this property for 20 years before. So I've been here for over 60 years. It was quite tiny and very unique, our little town, but I've seen it grow and seen many wonderful changes in it. Hopefully everything will continue.
British Columbia's boundary country begins east of the Okanagan Valley on approach to the mountainous Kootenay region. The landscape is highlighted by rough terrain and dense forest. It is also home to scenic remote communities. East of Midway lies the border town of Grand Forks. Grand Forks is set at the confluence of the Granby and Kettle Rivers. It was incorporated in 1897 with the development of copper mining in the region. In the early 20th century, the population increased dramatically. Thousands of Russian farmers, known as Doukhobors, arrived in the area in search of prime farmland. Today, the town is home to roughly 4,000 people, considered the hub of boundary country. Its main industries are agriculture and logging. The community sawmill sits in the heart of the town. It is key to the local economy, shipping valuable forest products south by rail. And the town is home to one of Canada's most passionate and occasionally controversial mayors.
My name is Brian Taylor. I'm the mayor of Grand Forks, and you're in Grand Forks, British Columbia. Well, Grand Forks is a population about 4,000 with another approximately 4,000 in the surrounding area. We're equal distance from major centers from Calgary, Spokane, Kelowna, Vancouver.
The town lies just north of the 49th parallel, British Columbia's largest border community east of Osoyoos. Its unique geography presents common issues shared by settlements all along the Canada-US divide.
Well, as you know, the borders are not always very friendly. I think that they can be very intimidating for people. Some people move here because they enjoy the opportunity to enter a foreign country, but there are also people who won't live here because half of their geography is cut off. Well, you know, things have changed over the last few years, but if you go back into the 60s and 70s, we had a fairly open flow of people back and forth across the border. Americans came up here to use our recreation facilities, came up for the movie theaters, but bit by bit over a period of time, and after 9/11, things really tightened up.
As mayor, Brian Taylor sees many challenges along this frontier, but he is driven by one in particular. Taylor has been a cannabis activist for decades. He says the economy of cannabis is worth millions to the region.
Back in the 1980s, individuals in the Grand Forks area started growing cannabis in fairly large quantities outdoors. But throughout the Kootenays, cannabis has continued to be a major economic activity, and for a lot of families who grow small amounts, I mean by small amounts that they might make $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 a year, enough to pay their mortgage and fix their vehicle up and buy clothes and get the kids ready for school. That's the kind of army of the ordinary that basically form the backbone of the marijuana economy in the Kootenays.
Now Taylor is concerned legalization south of the border and the corporatization of cannabis is putting the local economy at risk. This is a medical marijuana garden Taylor says will be illegal as of March 2014. Based on new government guidelines, he says will squeeze out small operations.
So the problem here in British Columbia is things are changing really rapidly. The challenge for the rural areas is that if big companies come in and monopolize the growing, it's not going to spread that money around the rural areas the way it should be spread around. The growing is very labor intensive. The processing is labor intensive, and we want to keep those jobs and keep that money flowing in rural British Columbia, not allow it to be controlled by multinational corporations, which is the fear that we have. What would work best for rural British Columbia would be a wine industry model where various areas of the province would be allowed allocations for licensing that would allow for local growing of strains that would be climatized to local areas, but would give it a flavor like the wine industry model.
Today, Taylor continues his decades-long crusade. While much of his argument is rooted in economics, he admits it goes much deeper.
So why is cannabis such a passion for me? I have to look back at what my father taught me as a child, which is you should follow good rules and you should break bad rules. Stupid rules should be broken. He himself lived that life and basically said to me, if you're going to break a law, you better work at changing it. So this is my battle, is to change marijuana laws. I think it's a challenge that influences my generation, and certainly it's our war, it's our drug war.
Northeast of Grand Forks, British Columbia, Christina Lake is more than 15 kilometers long. It lies just minutes from the Canada-US border and has been an international destination for generations. As far back as the late 19th century, Americans and Canadians traveled by rail to spend their summers here. Today, cottages line the shores of Christina Lake. It is known for its warm, clean water and its stunning landscape. The region surrounding offers cross-country skiing and snowshoeing in the winter months, and camping, hiking, and water sports in the summer. And in the backwoods surrounding, anglers congregate to experience the wonders of British Columbia's rivers.
My name is David Fitzgerald here in Grand Forks, British Columbia. We're in the Kootenay Boundary Region, and we are looking at the Granby River. Here in Grand Forks, we have two rivers that converge, so this being the Granby, and then we have the Kettle that runs into the Granby, and so they collectively form the Columbia just south of the border. So you have a variety of communities that virtually fish the same waters, and at various spots they're called different things, but virtually they're all linked together. So where we are right now is we're just north of Grand Forks, probably come maybe 10K up the road and dip down to the Granby here.
Fitzgerald has been an angler his whole life, and he's lived in Grand Forks for more than a decade. In that time, the Granby River has become a second home.
This is a 5-weight rod. I built this one back on the east coast of Nova Scotia, where I hail from. me and a high school teacher, and put her all together. So nice little rod for this kind of river when the water's low like this. You don't need to go very far. So fly fishing's great. You use a variety of patterns. I'm not going to reveal our secrets, but you try the floating, or you can try dragging something off the bottom. So we're fishing for rainbow trout, and there's also a good population of whitefish here. But yeah, your chances are good if you're fishing at this time of the evening. You can see they'll come to the top, and get your dry flies out there and have some fun. I enjoy tying my own fly, so if a fish even looks at my fly and gives it a chance, then I feel like I've already kind of beat them, so I don't necessarily have to reel them in to feel like I fooled them. So basically, if you're unfamiliar with how the fly fishing works, it's you got a thicker line, and then you have a leader, clear leader that's attached to it. This one's a 15-footer, and then you tie your fly to the end of it. And it's a bit of a different casting technique, which you'll see. So yeah.
In his time living along this international frontier, Fitzgerald has come to appreciate his adopted province for the many outdoor opportunities that exist here.
We've got so many things to do if you're an outdoor enthusiast, with mountain biking, downhill, cross country. A lot of guys are into the dirt biking, dual sporting, lots of nice loops around for guys road biking. In BC, we have a variety. You have lakes, streams, rivers, the ocean on the west coast, and you're catching everything from a little pan-size 5-6 inch trout on the river to a 60-pound halibut out on the coast, Terrace and Prince Rupert. I moved here 10 years ago, and this river was closed. There was a no fishing regulation. They wanted to pump up the fish stock, so they opened it a couple years later, and it's been phenomenal. That's just a little one, but...
Today, Fitzgerald will head home empty-handed. But a prize catch is hardly the most important aspect of life on the river.
Okay, so yeah, we're done for the day here. One of the things I love about fishing here is this, a lot of people pay a lot of money to come here and vacation, and this is a place where I live all year round, and I try to take advantage of it. If you can get down here and try fishing on the Granby, you won't be disappointed.
Continuing east, Gladstone Provincial Park lines the shores of Christina Lake. These forested hills are home to a variety of unique species, part of British Columbia's Selkirk Foothills ecosection. Further, the landscape begins to rise. This is Rossland Range, part of the Monashee mountain chain. More than 2,000 square kilometers of soaring hills. It marks the end of BC's boundary country on approach to the mountainous West Kootenay region. Finally, we reach the city of Trail, the first major community in the West Kootenay region, just 10 kilometers north of the Canada-US border. Trail's history dates back to 1890, when gold and copper were discovered nearby. A smelter was built 5 years later, and the town was incorporated in 1901. Today, that tradition continues. Trail is home to just over 7,500 people and one of the largest lead and zinc smelters in the world. The town also holds the distinction of being BC's top sports town for its outdoor recreation and a legacy of sports achievement. In 1961, the Trail Smoke Eaters traveled to Switzerland, where they represented Canada in the World Hockey Championships. They would become the last amateur team to win the gold for Canada at this prestigious tournament. The Columbia River is the largest river in the Pacific Northwest. It measures 2,000 kilometers, flowing from British Columbia through Washington State, along the Oregon boundary, and finally, the Pacific. The Columbia has become integral to those who live along its banks as a transportation corridor, with highways and rail lines converging here. The river is also a source of energy, with more than a dozen major hydroelectric projects on its path. North of the city of Trail, the Columbia River leads to Castlegar. Castlegar is set at the confluence of the Columbia River and the Kootenay River. Like Trail, it is an industrial town, fueled by mining and forestry. The pulp mill here employs more than 400 residents. It is one of the largest single-line kraft pulp mills in North America, producing more than 500,000 tons of wood pulp each year. Like Trail, Castlegar is nestled between scenic mountains, often shrouded in fog, and known affectionately by pilots as Cancelgar. Beyond Castlegar, we begin a 50-kilometer voyage southeast through the Selkirk mountain range into the heart of the Kootenay region. The region takes its name from the indigenous North Americans who have resided here for thousands of years. The Ktunaxa or Kootenay peoples come from both sides of the Canada-US divide. The topography here is defined by 4 parallel mountain ranges, the Monashee and Selkirk Mountains to the west, and the Purcell Mountains and the Rockies to the east. It is an incredible landscape. The Kootenay region is home to 4 of British Columbia's 7 national parks. Geographically, the area is unique, marking the halfway point between the Pacific Ocean and the prairies. The region also features the Crow's Nest Highway. It is the highest elevation paved road in Canada, known by locals as the Skyway. To the east, we leave the mountains behind and enter the pristine Creston Valley. It marks the end of the Selkirk mountain chain and the beginning of the Purcell Mountains, part of the East Kootenay region. The valley features fertile fields, wetlands, and a wildlife management area covering 17,000 acres. To the north, the Kootenay River leads to the open waters of Kootenay Lake. The lake is 104 kilometers long and 3 to 5 kilometers wide. One of the largest lakes in British Columbia. To the south, the town of Creston lies below. The original First Nations inhabitants arrived here 11,000 years ago. European settlers arrived in 1883. Today, the town is home to just over 5,000 people, located just 10 kilometers north of British Columbia's border with Port Hill, Idaho. The border communities are so close in this remote region that many businesses accept either currency on both sides of this international frontier. From the lush vineyards of the South Okanagan region, and the border town of Osoyoos, to BC's rugged boundary country, lining the 49th parallel. To the soaring peaks of the Kootenay region's awe-inspiring mountain ranges. British Columbia's inland international frontier is an incredible ascent into spectacular landscapes. It is rugged, remote communities building for the future in a region rooted in rich natural resources. Here, on the edge of Canada.